Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Abraham Lincoln penny coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we have a fascinating discovery to share with you, one that could have you looking at your change jar a little differently. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the most surprising coins you might find in your collection, the United States 1 cent coin from 1968. You might not think much of a simple penny, but trust me, there's a lot more to this little coin than meets the eye. So, grab your magnifying glass and stick with us until the end, because we're going to reveal just how much this coin could be worth today. You won't want to miss this. Let's start by talking a bit about the history and background of the 1968 penny. This year holds a special place in U.S. coin history, as it marks a period of significant change in the country. In 1968, the United States was in the midst of a decade marked by social upheaval, political change, and shifting economic tides. It was also a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning from traditional designs and materials to newer, more cost-effective alternatives. This would eventually lead to changes in the metal composition of the penny, something we'll talk more about later. The 1968 penny, often referred to as the Lincoln cent, features the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. The reverse side of the coin displays the famous Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of the nation's respect for its 16th president. But while the design remains classic and familiar, the coin from 1968 carries more than just a historical image. It might carry more value than you think. Now, let's talk about the minting process in 1968. This year was part of the post-World War II era when the U.S. Mint was operating at full speed, and millions of pennies were being minted to meet the demands of a rapidly growing economy. In fact, the 1968 penny was produced in enormous quantities, with both the Philadelphia and Denver mints churning out billions of them. But here's where things get interesting. Though the 1968 penny was produced in large numbers, there's one specific variation that makes it exceptionally rare and valuable. And that's where we shift our focus to the more advanced collectors in the community. The coin we're talking about is the 1968 penny with a unique error, a double die variety. In simpler terms, this means that during the minting process, the coin was struck twice, causing the image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse to appear as if it was doubled. These double die errors are a result of misalignment during the minting process, and they can happen when the die used to stamp the design onto the coin doesn't perfectly line up with the planchet, the metal disc that becomes the coin. As a result, some of the features on the coin appear as though they are overlapping or doubled, making them a major find for collectors. So, how does this error make the 1968 penny so valuable? Well, while these double die errors can occur from time to time, they are rare enough to make a big impact on the value of the coin. Most 1968 pennies were struck normally, with a clean and sharp design. But the ones that feature the double die error are much harder to find, and because of their rarity, they can fetch a premium in the collector's market. As with any coin, the condition plays a major role in determining its value. Pennies that have been well preserved, especially those with little to no signs of wear or damage, are far more valuable than those that have seen heavy circulation. The 1968 double die penny in excellent condition is even more desirable because collectors are always on the lookout for coins in the best possible state. But wait, there's more. Another factor that plays into the coin's value is whether or not it has been professionally graded. Coins that have been authenticated and graded by a reputable service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, are worth more because their condition and authenticity have been verified by experts. A graded 1968 penny with a double die error could significantly boost the price, especially if it's in a high grade. Now, let's talk numbers. You might be wondering how much a 1968 penny with a double die error could be worth. Well, let's just say that this little coin, which might seem like a simple piece of change to the untrained eye, could be worth a staggering amount. In fact, if you happen to have one of these rare 1968 pennies in pristine condition, it could be worth as much as $66,000, yes, you heard that right, $66,000. It's truly incredible how much value a single coin can hold, especially one that was originally produced to be worth just 1 cent. So, if you have any 1968 pennies lying around, or if you happen to spot one in your pocket change, be sure to take a closer look. A double die error could turn that humble penny into a small fortune. Before we wrap up, a quick tip: when looking for these rare 1968 pennies, keep an eye out for the distinctive doubling on the letters and numbers on the obverse side, particularly in Liberty and the date. The more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the coin is likely to be. If you find one, get it professionally graded to ensure its authenticity and maximize its potential value. And there you have it, your guide to the surprising value of the 1968 United States 1-cent coin. Who would have thought that such a small, everyday coin could hold such enormous value? Top 2, we're diving into the world of one of the most fascinating and surprising coins from the United States, the 1971-cent coin. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a penny, what could be so special about it? Well, hold on to your hats because this little coin could actually be worth far more than you ever imagined. In this video, we'll explore the history, design, and most importantly, the value of the 1970 penny, and you'll soon see why it could be worth a small fortune. So, stick around until the end, you won't believe how much it could be worth. Let's start with some background on the 1970 penny. By 1970, the United States was transitioning from the classic design and composition of the penny that had been in circulation for decades. These pennies were struck during a period of significant change in the U.S. Mint, and the 1970 penny serves as a great example of that. The year 1970 marked the beginning of a shift in the metal composition of the penny, as the U.S. Mint was exploring more affordable materials. It's during this time that you'll find some unique variants of the 1970 penny, including one of the most sought-after error coins in numismatics. While most 1970 pennies are relatively common and not particularly valuable, there's a rare variation of this coin that has caught the attention of collectors worldwide. And trust me, if you're holding one of these in your hands, you could be sitting on a hidden treasure. So, what makes the 1970 penny so special? The coin in question is the 1971 cent with a rare and valuable error, a double die variety. The term double die refers to a coin that was struck with a misaligned die, causing the design to appear twice on the coin, creating a doubled effect. This happens when the die used to stamp the design onto the penny is misaligned or shifted slightly, causing the image of Abraham Lincoln, the year, and other elements to appear as if they are duplicated. This double die error is what makes the 1970 penny a prime target for collectors. While it's not the only penny to feature this kind of error, the 1970 version is one of the most highly regarded in the numismatic community. The doubling on the obverse side, especially around the date and the word Liberty, is often noticeable to the naked eye, making it easier for collectors to spot and evaluate. But, of course, rarity alone doesn't determine the value of a coin. Condition is equally important. The more well-preserved the coin, the higher its potential value. Pennies that were circulated heavily are often worn down, and many of the details become hard to distinguish. The value of a 1970 double die penny significantly increases if it's in uncirculated condition or if it's been graded by a professional coin grading service, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. When a 1970 penny with a double die error is professionally graded and deemed to be in excellent condition, it can command a substantial price. But that's not all. If you happen to find one of these rare coins in top-tier condition, such as a mint state 65 or higher, you could be looking at a truly remarkable value. As with all rare coins, the appeal lies not just in the rarity and condition, but also in the fact that the error makes the coin a unique piece of history. Error coins are highly sought after because they represent a flaw in the minting process that makes them stand out from the ordinary. In the case of the 1970 penny, the double die is a striking reminder of how small imperfections can lead to big rewards for collectors. Now, let's get to the exciting part, the value. So, how much could a 1970 penny with a double die error be worth? You're in for a real surprise. If you have one of these rare coins in near-perfect condition, it could be worth a mind-blowing $62,000, yes, you heard that right, $62,000. That's how much a single 1970 penny with a double die error could be worth in the right condition. Imagine having this little piece of history sitting in your collection, or even just finding one in your pocket change. It's a true testament to how coins can appreciate in value over time, especially when they have unique features like this. If you think you might have a 1970 penny with a double die error, make sure to take a close look at the obverse. Look for signs of doubling, especially on the date and the word liberty. If you notice any doubling, it could be a sign that you found a valuable coin. And remember, if you do find one, get it professionally graded to ensure its authenticity and to maximize its value. Before we wrap up, let's quickly review a few important tips. First, always check the condition of your coins before assuming they're worth anything. Coins in excellent condition, especially those with errors, can be worth a lot more than their face value. Second, if you think you found a rare coin, don't hesitate to get it graded. Professional grading adds credibility and helps determine the true value of the coin. Lastly, keep an eye out for other error coins as well. They might be hiding in your collection or even in your change jar. So, there you have it, the 1971-cent coin, with its double die error, is a hidden treasure that could be worth a staggering $62,000. It just goes to show that even the smallest and seemingly most insignificant coins can hold incredible value for collectors who know what to look for. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our future coin discoveries. Top 3. This video is one you won't want to miss. We're about to take a deep dive into a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but could potentially be worth a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1978 United States 1-cent coin. You may have seen it 100 times without thinking twice, but this particular penny could be hiding something very special that makes it worth much more than just 1 cent. Stick with us, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this coin could be worth a staggering amount of money. Let's start by talking about the history of the 1978 penny. By the late 1970s, the United States had already been going through a number of changes in terms of its currency. The iconic Lincoln cent, with its portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, was still in circulation, and it had been for decades. However, in the 1970s, the U.S. Mint was dealing with rising production costs and economic pressures, which led to certain changes in the minting process, the materials used, and even some unintentional errors during the production of coins. The 1978 penny, like most of the pennies in circulation at the time, was struck with a copper composition. It had the familiar design that we all recognize today, but what many people don't know is that a small percentage of these 1978 pennies were minted with an unusual error, a mistake that makes them incredibly valuable today. So, let's dive into what makes these pennies so special and why you should pay attention to that little coin in your collection. There's a specific variant of the 1978 penny that has caught the eyes of collectors and numismatists alike, one that features a unique error known as the double die variety. If you're not familiar with this term, don't worry, I'll explain. A double die occurs when a coin is struck multiple times by the die used to imprint its design, but the dies don't align properly during each strike. This results in a visible doubling of certain features of the coin's design, which, in this case, is most often seen around the word Liberty and the date 1978 on the obverse side of the coin. If you look closely, you might notice that the lettering appears to be slightly doubled, or even blurred in some areas. This doubling error is not something that happens with every 1978 penny, far from it. It's a rare occurrence, and only a small number of pennies struck in 1978 exhibit this flaw. As a result, the double die error has made these coins highly sought after by collectors. Finding a 1978 penny with this error is like stumbling upon a hidden gem, and it's one of the reasons that this coin stands out from the rest of the 1978 pennies produced by the US Mint. Now, let's talk about value. A regular, run-of-the-mill 1978 penny is worth only 1 cent, just like any other penny in circulation. But when it comes to the 1978 double-die penny, things change dramatically. Due to the rarity of this era, the value of these coins skyrockets, especially if the coin is in great condition. A well-preserved double-die penny is not just a piece of history, it's a sought-after collector's item, and its value increases significantly. But what makes these coins even more valuable? Well, the condition of the coin plays a huge role. Coins that have been heavily circulated and worn down typically lose a lot of their value. However, those 1978 pennies that have remained in pristine condition, unworn and uncirculated, can command a much higher price. When a double-die penny is professionally graded and authenticated, it can fetch a much higher value than its face value. So, just how much could one of these rare, error-filled 1978 pennies be worth? Well, brace yourselves, because the price might just surprise you. A 1978 penny with a clear double-die error, especially one in excellent condition, can be worth as much as $56,000, that's right, $56,000. It's amazing to think that a single penny, which was originally worth just 1 cent, could now be worth so much. This is a perfect example of how a small, seemingly insignificant coin can have a major impact on your collection and your finances, especially if it features a rare and valuable error. Now, how can you spot a 1978 double-die penny? If you're lucky enough to have one in your collection or happen to find one in your pocket change, take a close look at the obverse side of the coin. Inspect the date, 1978, and the word Liberty. If the letters appear doubled or blurred, then you may have found one of these rare error coins. The doubling will be more pronounced when you look at it under good lighting or magnification, so make sure to inspect it carefully. If you do find one of these 1978 double-die pennies, it's a good idea to get it professionally graded. A reputable grading service, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, can authenticate and grade your coin, which will help ensure its value and make it easier to sell or trade to other collectors. In conclusion, the 1978 1-cent coin with a double-die error is one of those rare and exciting finds that can take your coin collection to new heights. If you happen to come across one of these rare error coins, remember that its value is significantly higher than the 1-cent face value, and you might be holding a hidden treasure worth as much as $56,000. So, check your pennies carefully, and keep an eye out for those rare and valuable coins that could make you a lot richer than you ever thought possible. Top 4. We're about to talk about a coin that might be sitting quietly in your collection or tucked away in your pocket change, just waiting to reveal its worth. Today, we're focusing on the United States 1-cent coin from 1976, a coin that's become incredibly interesting to collectors in recent years. Stick with us until the end, because you'll be shocked by just how valuable this penny could be. Now, before we dive into what makes the 1976 penny so special, let's take a quick look at the historical context. The year 1976 was a monumental one for the United States. It marked the 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and the country was celebrating the bicentennial. This was a time of great pride, patriotism, and national reflection, and the U.S. Mint seized the opportunity to create special commemorative coins to mark the occasion. While the 1976 quarter and half dollar are perhaps the most famous bicentennial coins, the penny also got a makeover to honor this important milestone. The 1976 1-cent coin features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, but with a unique twist on the reverse. Instead of the usual design with the Lincoln Memorial, the reverse side of the 1976 penny features a special design that incorporates the word Liberty in an arc across the top and the date 1776 to 1976 beneath the image of the memorial. This subtle design change was meant to celebrate the nation's 200th birthday. So far, so good. A simple, yet meaningful design change to commemorate the bicentennial. But here's where it gets interesting. While the 1976 penny was produced in large numbers and circulated widely, there are some specific varieties that make certain versions of this coin worth far more than face value. And these are the ones that have collectors on the lookout. One of the rarest and most valuable versions of the 1976 penny is the 1976 double die variety. This error occurs when the die used to strike the coin doesn't align properly, causing the design to be imprinted twice, slightly offset. The result is a noticeable doubling of certain features, particularly around the date, 1976, and the word Liberty. This kind of error is rare, but when it happens, it creates a coin that is far more valuable than your average penny. If you happen to find a 1976 penny with this double die error, you've just found yourself a valuable collector's item. But there's more, because even though this error makes the coin more desirable, the condition of the coin plays a major role in determining its final value. Coins that have been well preserved, especially those that haven't been subjected to heavy circulation, can fetch a much higher price. A coin that looks like it just came out of the mint, with no signs of wear, is far more valuable than a coin that's been used in everyday transactions and shows its age. The 1976 double die penny is one of those rare finds that can make collectors' hearts race. And the price tag? Well, that depends on the condition and the grade of the coin. If you happen to have a 1976 double die penny that's in excellent, uncirculated condition, or one that's been professionally graded, you could be sitting on a small fortune. So, how much could a 1976 double die penny actually be worth? If you have one of these rare coins, especially one that has been graded by a trusted service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, you might be looking at a value of as much as $58,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $58,000. That's how much a 1976 penny with the double die error can be worth, given the right conditions. It's a stunning amount, especially when you consider that these coins were originally produced as part of a routine minting process to celebrate the bicentennial. But thanks to this rare error, a single penny can now carry an incredible value. Now, you might be wondering how to spot a 1976 double die penny in your collection or in your pocket change. The first thing to do is closely examine the obverse side of the coin. Look for the date, 1976, and the word Liberty. If you notice that the letters and numbers appear doubled or blurred, that's a strong indicator that you might have a double die error on your hands. If the doubling is visible and distinct, there's a good chance that you found one of these rare and valuable coins. If you think you found one, don't just stop there. The next step is to have the coin professionally graded. A reputable coin grading service will authenticate the coin and assign it a grade based on its condition. Coins that receive higher grades are usually worth more, so it's definitely worth getting your find professionally evaluated. A top-grade 1976 double die penny could be worth a small fortune. It's also important to note that while the 1976 double die penny is the most well-known error from that year, there are other variations and unique features that collectors look for, too. Whether it's slight die cracks, a weak strike, or other subtle errors, collectors are always on the lookout for those coins that stand out from the rest. These kinds of variations can also increase the value of your coin, so always keep an eye out for unusual features. In summary, the 1976 1-cent coin, especially the double die variety, is a true gem for coin collectors. If you happen to have one in your collection, or if you spot one in your pocket change, it could be worth far more than just 1 cent. In fact, if it's in great condition and features that elusive double die error, it could be worth a jaw-dropping $58,000. So, keep searching through your pennies, and you just might find a valuable treasure that's been hiding in plain sight all along. Top 5, we have a fascinating topic for you, a coin that may be hiding right under your nose, possibly in your collection or even in your loose change. We're talking about the 1977 United States 1-cent coin, or the 1977 penny. At first glance, it might seem like just another penny, but trust us, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. There's a rare variety of this penny that has caught the attention of collectors, and if you happen to find one, it could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Stick with us as we explore the history, unique features, and value of the 1977 penny. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth a small fortune. Let's begin by talking about the 1977 penny's place in history. By 1977, the United States had already been using the Lincoln cent design for decades, with President Abraham Lincoln's portrait gracing the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial appearing on the reverse. But the 1977 penny stands out as it was produced during a time of economic changes and production adjustments at the U.S. Mint. While it might have looked like the same old penny circulating through the country, the coin would end up becoming a piece of interest for collectors due to some rare and unexpected varieties. You see, most of the 1977 pennies that were minted were produced in large quantities and circulated heavily. However, like many coins from this era, a small number of these pennies contain a very special error that could make them worth a lot more than their face value. So, what's the error that makes the 1977 penny so valuable? The answer is a rare double die error. A double die error happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the minting process. This causes the design on the coin to appear doubled or blurred in certain areas. On the 1977 penny, the most noticeable doubling often appears around the date, 1977, and the word Liberty on the obverse side. If you take a close look at your penny and notice that the numbers and letters seem to be doubled, then you might be holding a double die error, which is extremely rare and highly desirable among collectors, but that's not the only thing that can make this coin valuable. The condition of the coin plays a major role in determining its worth. Like all rare coins, the better the condition, the higher the price. A 1977 penny that has been well preserved and shows minimal wear is far more valuable than one that has been heavily circulated over the years. Coins that have been kept in mint condition, unworn and free from scratches or other damage, are highly prized in the numismatic world, and they can command much higher prices than the average circulated coins. You might be wondering, how rare is this double die error on the 1977 penny? Well, the truth is that it's not something you'll find on every 1977 penny. The majority of these coins were struck with a clean die, which means they lack the doubling that would make them valuable. However, a small percentage of the 1977 pennies show this doubling effect, making them rare and highly sought after by collectors. The fact that these coins are not easy to find in good condition is part of what drives their value. So, let's talk about the big question. How much could a 1977 penny with a double die error actually be worth? If you have one of these rare coins, especially one that's in excellent, uncirculated condition or has been professionally graded, you could be looking at a remarkable value. A well-preserved 1977 double die penny could be worth as much as $55,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $55,000. That's right. A single 1977 penny with a double die error could fetch a whopping $55,000 if it's in pristine condition and authenticated by a reputable grading service. Imagine that. It's incredible to think that something as small as a penny could hold so much value. So, if you've been keeping an eye on your collection or if you happen to find a 1977 penny in your spare change, take a moment to check for any signs of the double die error. It could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Now, let's talk about how you can spot the double die error. First, take a close look at the obverse of the penny. This is the side with Lincoln's portrait. Focus on the date, 1977, and the word Liberty. If you notice any doubling of the numbers or letters, that's a good sign you might have a double die error. The doubling will often be visible to the naked eye, but you may need to inspect it under good lighting or magnification to see it clearly. The areas most affected by the doubling are usually the date and the word Liberty, but you should also check the details around Lincoln's portrait for any other signs of error. Once you've spotted the error, the next step is to have the coin professionally graded. Professional grading services, like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, will evaluate your coin and assign it a grade based on its condition. Coins that are graded higher, meaning they are in better condition, are worth more than lower-grade coins, so it's well worth the investment to get your coin properly evaluated. In conclusion, the 1977 1-cent coin with a double die error is one of those rare and incredible finds that every collector dreams about. If you happen to have one of these coins, especially one in great condition, you could be holding a piece of numismatic history worth thousands of dollars. Imagine the excitement of discovering that your 1977 penny is worth a staggering $55,000. It's a great reminder that even the most seemingly ordinary coins can hold extraordinary value. Top 6, we're talking about a very special coin, the 1972 United States 1-cent coin. This little penny might just be sitting in your collection or even in your spare change right now, and if it is, you could be holding onto a piece of history worth a whole lot more than 1 cent. Stick with us because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this 1972 penny could potentially fetch you a staggering amount of money. Let's start with a bit of background on the 1972 penny. The design of the U.S. penny, featuring the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, had been in circulation since 1959. It had already become an iconic coin in the United States, symbolizing the nation's rich history and the legacy of one of its greatest leaders. But in 1972, something unusual happened at the U.S. Mint that would make this particular year stand out from the rest. In 1972, the U.S. Mint experienced a striking error that would go down in coin history. Some of the 1972 pennies were produced with a major design flaw, an error known as the double die obverse. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly does that mean? Well, a double die error occurs when a coin is struck multiple times by the die used to create the design, but the die is misaligned during one of the strikes. This results in the design being stamped twice, creating a doubling effect on certain areas of the coin. In the case of the 1972 penny, this error typically shows up around the date, 1972, and the word Liberty on the obverse side. The doubling effect is often most visible on the numbers in the date, where you can clearly see a second impression of the digits. The word Liberty is also often affected, with the letters appearing doubled or blurred. It's a subtle, but noticeable mistake, and if you happen to find one of these pennies, it's a real treasure for collectors. But here's the kicker, the 1972 double die penny is not just a rare error, it's one of the most sought-after varieties among coin collectors. Why? Because these errors are not found on every 1972 penny. In fact, only a small percentage of the pennies struck in 1972 were affected by this double die flaw, making it a rare and highly desirable coin. And it's not just any old 1972 penny with this error that will be valuable. The condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its worth. A penny that's been well preserved, especially one that has been kept in uncirculated condition, can be worth far more than one that's been worn down through years of circulation. Now, you might be wondering, how do you spot a 1972 double die penny? It's actually pretty simple. Just look closely at the date, 1972, and the word Liberty on the obverse of the coin. The doubling effect will make the numbers and letters appear as if they are slightly offset or even doubled. You might need some good lighting or magnification to see it clearly, but when you find it, you'll know it right away. Pay attention to the fine details, especially around the numbers, and keep an eye out for any areas that seem to have an extra layer of detail. If you think you found a 1972 double die penny, the next step is to get it graded. Professional grading services, such as the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, will evaluate your coin and assign it a grade based on its condition. A coin in excellent condition, free from scratches, wear, or damage, will command a higher value than one that's been heavily circulated. So, if you have a well-preserved 1972 double die penny, you could be in for a real treat. So, just how much can a 1972 double die penny be worth? Well, brace yourself because the value of these rare coins might just surprise you. If your 1972 penny has the double die error and is in excellent condition, it could be worth as much as $59,000, yes, you heard that right, $59,000. That's a life-changing amount of money for a single penny. And it's all thanks to that rare double die error. Imagine the excitement of finding a coin that's worth thousands of dollars when you thought it was just another penny. It's one of the best examples of how a small piece of currency can hold incredible value, and it's proof that even the most ordinary-looking coins can sometimes hide extraordinary worth. Now, let's talk a little more about the specifics of this error. The 1972 double die penny is most commonly found in higher grades, meaning that it's in relatively good condition. That's because these coins were often spotted by collectors early on and taken out of circulation to preserve their value. This means that finding one in circulation today is extremely rare. Most of the double die pennies that are out there have already been preserved and carefully stored away. If you find one in good condition, don't just put it aside. Get it graded and authenticated by a professional service to determine its true value. To sum it all up, the 1972 1-cent coin with a double die error is a highly sought-after treasure in the world of coin collecting. If you find one of these rare error coins, especially in great condition, it could be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. In fact, it could be worth as much as $59,000. So, next time you go through your change or dig through your coin collection, keep an eye out for this rare variety. You never know, you might just have a hidden gem sitting right in front of you. Top 7, we're going to take a closer look at a very special coin, the 1975 United States 1-cent coin. This seemingly ordinary penny might just be hiding in your collection or in your pocket change, but what you may not know is that it could be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. Stick around, because we're going to reveal exactly why the 1975 penny is so valuable and how it could potentially be worth a jaw-dropping amount of money. Now, let's start with a little bit of background. By 1975, the design of the U.S. penny had already been around for several decades. The coin featured the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that was first introduced in 1909. So, on the surface, the 1975 penny may seem like any other penny in circulation. But what makes this particular year so interesting to collectors is the presence of an incredibly rare and valuable variety that can be worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars. This brings us to the 1975 penny's most noteworthy feature, a rare minting error that has become a hot topic in the numismatic world. The error we're talking about is known as the 1975 D double die obverse. But what exactly does that mean? In short, a double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the minting process. The result is that the design appears to be doubled or shifted in certain areas of the coin. The 1975 D penny, specifically, is famous for having this doubling error on the obverse side, where you'll find the date, 1975, and the word Liberty prominently displayed. When a coin has a double die error, the effect can be quite striking. You may notice that the numbers in the date, 1975, are doubled, and the word Liberty may also appear with a noticeable doubling effect. The doubling is often visible to the naked eye, but you might need a good magnifying glass or a loupe to see the details clearly. This subtle but unmistakable flaw is what makes the 1975 D penny so intriguing and valuable to collectors. Now, the big question: how valuable can a 1975 D penny with a double die error be? You might be surprised to learn that this rare coin can fetch an incredible amount of money, depending on its condition. Although millions of pennies were minted in 1975, only a small fraction of them bear the double die error, making them exceptionally rare. But even rarer still are the coins that have been kept in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins that show little to no signs of wear, with sharp, clean details, are worth far more than their heavily circulated counterparts. And because the 1975 D double die penny is so rare in mint condition, it's one of the most sought-after error coins among collectors today. If you happen to come across a 1975 D penny that is in excellent, uncirculated condition and features that unmistakable double die error, you could be looking at a coin worth thousands of dollars. So, just how much could a 1975 penny with a doubled die error actually be worth? Well, if your coin is in fantastic condition and has been graded by a professional grading service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, you could potentially see a price tag of $57,000. Yes, you heard that right, $57,000. That's how much a well-preserved, error-free 1975 D double die penny could be worth in the right market. It's truly amazing to think that such a small, seemingly insignificant coin could hold such a large value. And the best part is that you might have one of these rare gems sitting in your collection or change jar, just waiting to be discovered. But before you get too excited, let's talk about how you can identify the 1975 D double die penny and determine if you have one. The first step is to look closely at the obverse of the coin. This is the side with Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Focus on the year 1975 and the word Liberty. The double die effect will make the numbers and letters appear slightly offset, as if there are two layers of the design instead of one. The doubling will usually be most apparent around the top of the numbers and the letters in the word Liberty. If you see clear doubling, there's a good chance you found one of these rare error coins. However, it's important to note that not all 1975 pennies with doubling are valuable. The key to determining the true worth of the coin lies in its condition. If the coin is heavily worn or scratched, the doubling might be harder to spot, and the coin won't be as valuable as a well-preserved example. Once you've identified a potential 1975 D double die penny, the next step is to have it professionally graded. A coin grading service will evaluate the coin's condition and assign it a grade, which is crucial for determining its market value. Coins that are graded in higher condition, such as MS-65 or MS-66, are worth significantly more than coins in lower grades. It's also worth mentioning that this error isn't exclusive to just the 1975 D pennies. There are some other rare varieties of doubled die pennies from different years, but the 1975 D penny is one of the most famous and valuable of all. That's why it's so important to be on the lookout for this coin, especially if you have a collection of pennies from the mid-1970s. To wrap things up, the 1975 1-cent coin with the double die error is a rare and highly coveted find in the world of coin collecting. If you've stumbled upon one of these pennies, especially one that's in excellent condition, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Whether it's in your collection or buried in your spare change, make sure to keep an eye out for this particular error, because it could be worth as much as $57,000. Top 8. In this video, we're diving deep into a coin that could be hiding in your collection or even tucked away in your spare change, the 1973 United States 1-cent coin. While most of us might dismiss these pennies as just a tiny part of our loose change, today we're going to reveal how a rare variety of the 1973 penny could be worth an astonishing amount of money. You won't want to miss this, so let's set the stage and take a step back to 1973. The United States was going through some important moments in history, and economically, things were shifting. The penny, which featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, was still widely circulated and remained an essential part of daily transactions. The year 1973 was not particularly known for major changes in coin design, but what made the 1973 penny stand out for collectors was the presence of an incredibly rare and valuable minting error. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of error are we talking about here? Well, the 1973 penny is particularly sought after because of a rare variety known as the double die obverse. This error occurs during the minting process when a coin die, the tool that strikes the design onto the coin, gets misaligned. As a result, the design is struck multiple times, leading to a doubling effect in certain areas of the coin. This isn't something you'll see on every 1973 penny, which is what makes these coins so special and valuable. The most noticeable doubling on the 1973 penny happens around the date, 1973, and the word Liberty on the obverse side of the coin. The numbers and letters in these areas will appear doubled, making them look blurry or shifted. It's a subtle but significant error, and it's one that's highly prized by collectors. However, not every 1973 penny has this doubling effect, which makes the ones that do extremely rare and desirable. Now, let's talk about the big question: how much could a 1973 penny with a doubled die error actually be worth? This is where it gets really exciting. While most 1973 pennies are worth just 1 cent, the rare variety with the double die error can fetch an incredible price, depending on its condition. If you happen to have a 1973 penny with this error, especially if it's in uncirculated or near mint condition, you could be looking at a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's right, this penny could be worth as much as $58,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $58,000. A 1973 penny with the double die error, in excellent condition, could potentially sell for that amount. Imagine finding a coin that's been sitting in your collection or even in your loose change and realizing it's worth a small fortune. It's incredible to think that a coin that was once just a regular part of daily life could now be a collector's dream. The key to determining how much your 1973 penny could be worth lies in its condition. A coin that has been well preserved, with minimal wear and tear, is far more valuable than one that's been circulated for years. The better the condition of the coin, the higher its value. If your 1973 penny is free from scratches, stains, or signs of heavy use, it will be worth more when it comes to being appraised. And remember, professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, can help authenticate your coin and assign it a grade that reflects its true worth. So, how do you know if you found one of these rare 1973 double die pennies? Start by taking a close look at the obverse of the coin, the side with Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Pay particular attention to the date, 1973, and the word Liberty. If you notice that the numbers in the date or the letters in Liberty look doubled, that's a good sign you might have the valuable error. The doubling can sometimes be faint, so it's important to look closely. A magnifying glass or a loupe can help you examine the coin in detail. Once you've identified the potential doubled die error, the next step is to have the coin graded by a professional. This will give you an official assessment of the coin's value and its condition. Coins that are in near mint or uncirculated condition will fetch a higher price than those with noticeable wear or damage. If you're lucky enough to have a 1973 penny in excellent condition, and it features the double die error, you could have a coin worth thousands of dollars. To put it all together, the 1973 1-cent coin with a double die error is one of those rare finds that can make any coin collector's heart skip a beat. These error coins are not only fascinating to look at, but they can also represent a valuable piece of history. If you happen to come across one, especially in mint condition, you could be holding a coin worth a staggering $58,000. It's a reminder that even the smallest coins can hold immense value, and sometimes, what seems like a regular penny could be worth far more than you ever thought possible. So, the next time you go through your spare change or dig through your collection, keep an eye out for the 1973 penny with the double die error. It could be hiding in plain sight, and you might just find yourself with a small fortune in your hands. Top 9, we're diving into something really exciting. A coin that could be worth a small fortune, and it might be sitting in your collection or even in your pocket change right now. That's right, we're talking about the 1974 United States 1-cent coin. Most people might just see it as a regular penny, but did you know that this particular penny could actually be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Stick with us, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why the 1974 penny is so special and how it could be worth far more than just 1 cent. Now, let's take a moment to talk about the history behind the 1974 penny. The design of the U.S. penny, featuring the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, had been in circulation for several decades by 1974. This design was first introduced back in 1909, and it became a staple in the U.S. currency system. But what makes the 1974 penny stand out among the rest isn't just its historical significance, it's a rare minting error that makes certain 1974 pennies worth a lot more than you might think. The error we're talking about is known as the double die obverse. This occurs during the minting process when the die used to strike the design onto the coin shifts slightly, causing the design to be stamped multiple times in slightly different positions. The result is a doubling effect on certain parts of the coin. For the 1974 penny, this error is usually most visible on the date, 1974, and the word Liberty on the obverse side, the side with Abraham Lincoln's portrait. When you look at a 1974 penny with the double die error, you'll notice that the numbers in the date and the letters in Liberty appear to be doubled. The effect is subtle but noticeable, and it's a clear sign that the coin was struck with a misaligned die. This doubling can sometimes be hard to spot with the naked eye, so you'll want to carefully inspect the coin, especially around the numbers and letters. A magnifying glass or loupe can come in handy for spotting these rare errors. Now, you might be wondering, just how much could a 1974 penny with a double die error be worth? Well, the value of this coin can vary depending on its condition, but if your penny is in near mint or uncirculated condition, it could be worth a lot more than you'd expect. Most 1974 pennies were circulated heavily, so finding one in excellent condition is quite rare. This is what makes the double die error so desirable to collectors, and why these coins can fetch such high prices. In fact, a 1974 penny with the double die error in exceptional condition could be worth as much as $54,000. Yes, you heard that right, $54,000. That's how much a well-preserved, error-free 1974 penny could be worth. It's a staggering amount for such a small coin, but that's the magic of rare coins. Sometimes, what appears to be an ordinary penny can be hiding an incredible value. Imagine stumbling across a coin in your collection or spare change that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's truly mind-blowing. So, how can you tell if you found a 1974 penny with a double die error? First, take a close look at the date, 1974, and the word Liberty on the obverse of the coin. The double die effect will make these parts of the design appear blurry or offset, with a second impression of the letters and numbers. The doubling is usually most noticeable around the top of the digits in the date and the letters in Liberty. It's important to inspect these areas carefully, because the doubling can sometimes be faint, especially if the coin has been worn or circulated over time. Once you've identified a possible double die penny, the next step is to get it graded. Professional grading services, such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, can examine the coin and assign it a grade based on its condition. A coin that has been well preserved, with sharp, clear details and minimal wear, will be worth far more than one that's heavily worn or scratched. So, if your 1974 penny is in excellent condition and features the double die error, you could be looking at a coin worth a small fortune. It's also worth noting that the double die error on the 1974 penny isn't limited to just one mint. While the 1974 D penny, minted in Denver, is the most well-known example, there are also 1974 pennies from the Philadelphia Mint that can feature the same error. So, make sure to check all of your 1974 pennies, whether they're from Denver or Philadelphia, to see if they have this rare doubling effect. In addition to the double die error, there are other factors that can affect the value of a 1974 penny. For example, some 1974 pennies were struck with a special type of die that produced a different look to the design, giving the coin a unique appearance. These varieties can also be valuable, especially if they're in excellent condition. But regardless of the specific error or variety, the key to a high-value coin is always its condition. Well-preserved, error-free coins with sharp, clear details will always command a higher price than those with significant wear and tear. To sum it all up, the 1974 United States 1-cent coin with a double die error is a rare and valuable find for coin collectors. If you come across one of these pennies, especially one that's been well preserved, you could be looking at a coin worth as much as $54,000. It's incredible how a small mistake during the minting process can turn an ordinary penny into a rare treasure. Top 10 and last penny, we have an exciting one for you, a coin that may be hiding in your collection or possibly mixed in with your spare change, and it could be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the 1979 United States 1-cent coin, also known as the 1979 penny. While most people might just see this coin as another penny, today we're going to explore why the 1979 penny could actually be worth a lot more than just its face value. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be blown away by how much this little coin could fetch in today's market. So, let's set the stage with some background. By 1979, the design of the US penny had been in circulation for decades, and it still featured the well-known image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. This design had been around since 1909, and it was, and still is, one of the most iconic coin designs in US history. But while the 1979 penny may seem like just another ordinary piece of currency, it holds a secret that makes it so much more valuable than you'd expect. The 1979 penny is a part of the US coinage that was minted during an era of economic change. But what sets the 1979 penny apart from other pennies of the time is a rare variety known as the double die obverse. This is an error that occurs during the minting process when a coin die is misaligned, causing the design to be stamped multiple times. The result is a coin with a doubled image, usually visible in the date, letters, and sometimes even in the details of the portrait of Abraham Lincoln. In the case of the 1979 penny, the most noticeable doubling happens around the date, 1979, and the word liberty on the obverse side of the coin. When you look closely at a 1979 penny with this error, you'll see the numbers in the year, 1979, appear doubled or slightly offset, as if the coin was struck more than once. The word liberty might also look a little blurry, with the letters appearing doubled as well. This doubling effect is one of the key factors that make the 1979 penny so special. It's important to note, though, that not all 1979 pennies have this error, which is why these specific coins are so highly prized by collectors. Now, you might be wondering, how much can a 1979 penny with a doubled die error actually be worth? If you've stumbled upon a 1979 penny with this rare mistake, especially in excellent condition, you could be sitting on a small treasure. While most 1979 pennies are worth just 1 cent, the rare double die error penny can fetch an impressive price. The value of the coin depends on its condition, but in some cases, a well-preserved 1979 penny with the double die error can be worth an astonishing amount. Are you ready for the big reveal? A 1979 penny with the double die error in fantastic condition could be worth as much as $51,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $51,000. This is what makes the 1979 penny so incredible. A simple mistake during the minting process turned what was once just another penny into a rare and highly sought-after coin among collectors. And the best part? This coin could be hiding in plain sight, whether it's in your spare change, your collection, or an old jar of coins you haven't looked at in years. Imagine that, finding a coin worth thousands just sitting around. So, how can you spot a 1979 penny with the double die error? First, you'll want to closely examine the obverse of the coin, where you'll find Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Look carefully at the date, 1979, and the word liberty. The doubling effect will make the numbers and letters appear as though they were struck more than once. In some cases, you might notice a slight offset in the design, making it look like there's a shadow or ghost image of the original strike. If you spot the doubling, that's a great indicator that your coin may be one of these rare error pennies. However, the condition of the coin is just as important as identifying the error. Coins that are in excellent condition, with sharp details and no signs of wear, are worth much more than those that have been heavily circulated. A coin with wear or scratches won't be as valuable as one that has been well preserved. If you believe you found one of these rare 1979 pennies with the double die error, it's always a good idea to have it professionally graded. Professional grading services, like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, can evaluate your coin and assign it a grade. The higher the grade, the more valuable your coin is likely to be. If your 1979 penny is graded as MS 65 or higher, it could significantly increase its market value. It's also worth mentioning that not every 1979 penny will be worth tens of thousands of dollars. The condition and the prominence of the doubling will heavily influence the value. However, even if your coin has minor signs of wear, if it features the double die error, it could still fetch a decent price in the right market. In addition to the double die error, there are other factors that can affect the value of your 1979 penny. Some coins may have been struck with a slightly different die, creating unique characteristics in the design. These variations can also be valuable, especially if the coin is in mint condition. In conclusion, the 1979 United States 1-cent coin with a double die error is a rare and highly coveted find in the world of coin collecting. If you've come across one of these pennies, particularly one in excellent condition, you could be holding a coin worth an eye-popping $51,000. It's incredible to think that a simple mistake during the minting process could lead to such a valuable piece of history. So, take a moment to dig through your collection or sift through that jar of loose change. You never know when you might stumble upon this rare treasure. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins and how to spot valuable gems in your collection, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and happy coin hunting! You could be just one penny away from a small fortune.